War. War never changes. Oh shit, wrong game. I meant to say war never ends. Imagine an alternate history scenario where World War I never ended. Yeah, I know, it's so crazy and far-fetched in this peaceful utopia we live in. But what if the Russo-Mongolians were the bad guys? Now things are getting a bit more interesting. Back in 2002, a little game called Iron Storm by 4X Studio was released for PC. It was a very mediocre brown first-person shooter, plagued with glitches and game-breaking bugs. 2 years later, a sort of remake was made for the PlayStation 2 by Rebellion, with a PC port hitting the shelves 1 year after the remake's release. They called it World War Z, Iron Storm, and already I have several questions. Why call it World War Z? Is this the prequel to World War I? And why release it on the PlayStation 2 first, then on PC? Oh, also, who wanted this? Why remake an average FPS with lukewarm reception? But the million-dollar question is, why did they cut almost all the unique features of the first game? The remake doesn't have multiplayer, quick saving, third-person mode, hell, it barely has any cutscenes. Yeah, I'm not fucking with you. They managed to make a standard FPS game even more stripped down and basic than it already was. Okay, this is getting out of hand. Let's just take it one step at a time, machine gun in hand, and explore the puzzling mediocrity of World War Z, Iron Storm. The year is 1964, 50 years of a brutal war still raging on, all thanks to Baron Nikolai Alexandrovich von Ugenberg, who is the main big bad guy who wants to establish a Russo-Mongolian empire and rule the world under his command. As the war drags on with no clear winner, armies and weapons have become mere figures on the stock market. However, a deadly new weapon is being developed by the Russo-Mongols that could end the war in complete devastation. Thankfully, we play as Lieutenant James Anderson, a legendary soldier who has been awarded the medal of the most generic name ever. As you probably already expect, we must embark on a suicide mission to infiltrate the weapons manufacturing site, Castle Wolfenberg, and blow it all up. The mastermind behind this operation is Colonel Mitchell, who of course betrays us 5 minutes before the game ends. His secret agenda is to prolong the war indefinitely and profit by manipulating both sides. So he kills a baron in cold blood, jumps into a helicopter, wears power armor, and becomes the final boss of the game. Nothing a few hundred rockets can't fix. And that's it, we kill 2 birds with 1 grenade basically, and the world is saved. God bless America. Not a bad plot, right? I mean, it's basic and generic as fuck, but it's serviceable and has an interesting premise. The problem is that I had to play both the original and the remake to really grasp the full extent of the story. For some reason, they removed the intro cutscene in World War Z and replaced it with a short audio segment. As a result, you have no real context on your mission or who Colonel Mitchell is. It's confusing as hell, because they kept the rest of the cutscenes intact. So when I saw the Baron get assassinated by some random guy, while my character was acting all surprised, I was scratching my head in bewilderment. And I'm still scratching it because they had no reason to do that. It's not like they remade the cutscenes and ran out of budget, they are the same cutscenes from the original game. I don't get it at all. Anyway, the best part of the plot is not the story itself, but all the lore snippets scattered throughout the game. Every time you reach a safe station, you can watch the news, which includes funny headlines such as a famous Austrian painter having a super popular gallery, or propaganda-fueled videos that portray the glory of the empire and showcase its newest military equipment. They were great at establishing the game's atmosphere and portraying the economics behind the war, while also trying to control public opinion. Besides those short segments though, there is nothing else. Although World War Zero's alternate history scenario is very refreshing and fascinating, it is criminally underutilized and serves as nothing more than window dressing to your endless killing spree. Much more could be done to integrate the story and lore into gameplay better. Instead, we receive only a few cutscenes and some generic first-person action. Biggest waste of potential I've ever seen. As I mentioned before, Iron Storm is a 2002 game. Lots of good first-person shooters came out that year actually, and Iron Storm looks butt ugly in comparison. World War Zero is slightly better in that department, even offering enhancements such as widescreen support, anisotropic filtering, and anti-aliasing. Still, for a 2005 game, it looks like shit. Literally. It's not the textures that are the problem, they are detailed enough, although they are very basic and repeated all over ad nauseum. It's the art direction I have an issue with. This is without a doubt the brownest game I've ever played. Seriously, even though there is a decent variety of environments, such as trenches, villages, trains and castles, everything blends together and looks like my toilet after the classic Greek diet of coffee, cigarettes and cheese pie. Hold your horses though, because during the final levels the game's direction shifts entirely from brown to grey. Isn't that exciting? Yeah, the game's levels look very bland, but thankfully the models are a bit more interesting. Although you'll be fighting human soldiers for most of the game, their designs are unique and fit well with the game's alternate history aesthetic. They are a weird mix of Fallout and Warhammer, I liked it. As for the weapons, I enjoyed the fact that the starting weapons were rusty and looked like they were slapped together, while the stronger ones looked like proper high-technology military equipment. But good lord are their textures crusty. Other than that, the animations are surprisingly smooth and the weather effects add some much needed atmosphere to the experience, but still everything looks too generic to be memorable. Equally generic is the game's sound, even though it has been improved significantly from the original title. The guns sound punchy and the death screams are juicy enough, but there's barely any dialogue to mix things up, and most of the enemy banter from Iron Storm has been cut. Anderson doesn't talk either, he can only communicate in mailgrunt.mp3 from freesound.org. What about the music though? Nope, there's no music at all. All you'll be hearing is the sound of gunfire, explosions, and alarms. It gives the game an air of realism, I suppose, further enhancing the feeling of being alone in a war-torn environment, but it also makes the adventure that much more boring. Overall, World War Zero's presentation is serviceable with some cool features here and there, but ultimately everything looks so average that I'm surprised they had this much to talk about in the first place. It's definitely a military shooter, alright. The time has come to talk about the gameplay, and what is there to discuss really? You move your aiming reticle over an enemy's head, you pull the trigger, and they go bye-bye. Every aspect of the shooting is as standard as you'd expect. You have your typical arsenal of weaponry, a pistol you'll never use, a machine gun, a shotgun that sucks, a sniper rifle, various grenades, and some exotic options like a grenade launcher, an overpowered as fuck flamethrower, and a very satisfying to use minigun. The most interesting weapon though was the hallucinogenic gas grenade, which causes a fisheye lens effect and reverses your controls, just like taking drugs in real life. You can only have 2 weapons equipped at a time, which makes it very annoying when you have to shuffle through your entire arsenal mid-fight to equip the weapon you want. I only used the machine gun, sniper rifle and rocket launcher anyway, they were the best choices for every combat scenario. As the game progresses and the enemies become stronger, you get new weapons that are more powerful and have added features, like a scope or automatic firing, but they are functionally the same. Therefore, the weapon selection is extremely limited and nothing to write home about. I enjoyed the action though. Despite that, it was satisfying and engaging, probably because of how easy and non-stop it was. The enemies are as intelligent as your standard Diablo clone's monsters. They pick from corners to shoot you, hunt you down when you hide from them, throw the occasional grenade, and stand in place stoically as you replace their brain matter with an iron storm of bullets. See what I did there? Yeah, they have no tactics whatsoever, so you can plow through them like a force of nature with ease. Sometimes they will surrender though, or try to trick you by throwing a grenade with their dying breath, which was the most interesting behavior the enemy AI had. Like I said though, I'm a force of nature, I don't take prisoners, and my bloodlust is endless. The game tries to ramp up the difficulty by throwing hordes of soldiers at you, sometimes in bullshit placements, or mixing things up by bombarding you with tanks, helicopters, turrets, and even suicide bomber dogs, which was a real thing the Russians did by the way. But it's not enough, the game is super easy and incredibly short, clocking at about 3 to 4 hours, which is fine by me actually, given the fact that World War Z is very repetitive and linear. There is not much to do besides killing soldiers, you'll man a turret now and then, press buttons, escape capture, you know, the usual. During its mission, you'll also be given the chance to complete secondary missions, which involve killing high-ranking officers or destroying military equipment. They are completely optional and don't affect the game's outcome, apart from increasing your score, I guess. Yeah, this game has a scoring system like it's an arcade game or something, really puzzling. Other than that, there is not much else to talk about. The shooting is as basic as it can get, and the game devolves into a corridor shooter during its final levels. Still a massive improvement over the first game though. In Iron Storm, a sniper shot can kill you instantly, and only a few bullets are enough to take you down. Also, sometimes when you get shot, the screen will flash red, which is super annoying, and you get staggered, making you unable to retaliate. What a shitty mechanic, and don't get me started on the glitches. Iron Storm is an incredibly buggy game, blocking you all the time because of its awful scripting and terrible collisions. Thankfully, World War Z, although more stripped down and basic, is a much more stable and enjoyable experience. I encountered zero bugs throughout my playthrough, the shooting was robust, and the overall experience was very well paced. Its action is generic as all hell, but I still had fun with it. If only every level was like the trench run at the beginning, that was the best part of the game in my opinion, full of tense and exciting moments. Still, it was an enjoyable little time waster, I suppose. World War Z Iron Storm is one of the games of all time, a joke as original as the game itself. As far as remakes go, the game plays a massive improvement, removing all the bullshit like the forced stealth segments and enhancing the shooting into a more thrilling experience without any frustrations. On the other hand, many features that made the game more atmospheric were removed for seemingly no reason. If I had to choose only one version, I guess I'd recommend the remake, just because of how smoothly it plays. If you're looking for something more complete or care about multiplayer, you can always return to the original. Both games can be found on Steam for super cheap nowadays, so if you have a few hours to spare and nothing else to play, I say go for it. Even though they're nothing special, they still provide a fun time destroying the Russo-Mongol army one bobber dog at a time. And that's all I had to say about World War Z Iron Storm. Thank you very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stuff. You know how it goes. You can also support me on Patreon or become a channel member for early access to my videos and other perks. Have a great day, and until next time, take care and have fun.